Hello, welcome all. On behalf of Council for Creative Education Finland and all our partner institutes, my name is Heramb Kulkarni. I am welcoming all of you for this Google Hangout on National Education Policy of India 2019. There has been quite a good discussion about the policy which got opened for the draft on 31st of May, and since last 6 days there has been a lot of debates, discussions in the media as well as in public as well as at the academia. Now the discussion has been directed towards the language discussions. It has been politically motivated, it has been also socially motivated, but we thought that it's better to give an academic and pure pedagogical view to this entire important policy making. For that, along with me, I have 5 other experts who are in this area, who are working at the grassroots in India. So today we will discuss about National Education Policy 2019, and during course each one of us will give the points, and all my viewers, because on our YouTube channel we have more than 5,000 plus subscribers, and as well as we have a lot of viewers on our Facebook channel, so you can be able to ask more questions in the comments. So I will just give a brief idea about who all of us are here, and then we can be able to start. So hello, my name is Heramb Kulkarni. I am originally from India, but I'm settled here in Finland, and I head the Council for Creative Education in the Strategy and Innovations. Vijaya ji, can you introduce yourself just in brief?
Namaste everyone. I'm Vijaya Bhanu Kote, a teacher, a practitioner of Heutagogy, the third Goji of the world. I'm a writer and an academician too. Thank you for listening to me. I hope we have a good discussion.
Sure. Santosh ji, Phad.
Yes, good evening everyone. My name is Santosh Phad. I'm a founder and managing trustee at Thinksharp Foundation. Thinksharp Foundation work at the grassroots level. We are trying to improve the quality of education in government rural schools by using intervention of technology and other infrastructure, so that it will help our vision and what we want to achieve. Thank you very much.
Mr. Surya Prasad ji.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Surya Prasad. I am the founder and mentor of Padala Charitable Trust. We work in the school education. We basically try to fill the gaps in the education system. We teach about life skills, career guidance, and adolescent health education. So we pretty much spend a lot of time with the school children, parents, and the teachers. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Dr. Mrs. Joshi.
Hello everyone, good evening. I am a medical doctor and professor working in Department of Pharmacology and a creative medical teacher. I am actually involved in doing a lot of researches which are catering to the field of creative pedagogy in higher education, especially medical field, for last 23 years. I'm so glad to be on this platform. Thank you so much.
And the last and important person, Dr. Joshi, Mr. Joshi from Nagpur. Sir, can you unmute yourself, please? Can you unmute your microphone? Yes, exactly. There is an unmute button is there, because so that we can be able to hear you.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello,
we can hear you. Yes.
I'm Anirudha Joshi from Nagpur. I'm a high school teacher. I like teaching the children on the root level, okay, for their upliftment. I also work as a teacher trainer. Yes, let's enjoy the discussion.
Yes. Super. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Am I audible, sir? Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes, very much.
Am I audible?
Very much, sir. Okay, now everyone can unmute so that I will start with the agenda. So We had the list of speakers. We are 6 of us all together, and we will interact during next 75 minutes on this part. As far as the content of the this particular workshop or this hangout is concerned, we will go through the national education policy step by step. There are three important aspects of the entire national policy. First one is on the school education, in which there will go on the early childhood education, language and numeracy skills. What is the approach which has been given uh, by the government or the policymakers, which is quite welcome part. Then in this entire policy, there is a one word which is been repeated several times, and which is pedagogy. And this is a really welcome move, that this is the first time I can see that any of the education policy, the pedagogy word has been used multiple times. And this shows that the policymakers has given a good thought about that. There are some reservations on these things as well, and I will share. And my colleague Vijaya Bhanu Kote, she will share her views on this part, and she will give the practical information about what is the curriculum and pedagogy. She will also speak about the regulation and accreditation of the school education, and also on the inclusive education. Then my colleague Surya Prasadji will speak about the teacher education and qualifications, and also on the teacher motivation. There has been some discussions on the how the teacher education will be revamped and what is the qualification for that. So he will share his thoughts on that part. And this is the policy where I can see that there is a good discussion about the skills has been given, and how to make our students more 21st century oriented, based on critical skills, communications, creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration. So on this part, I request Surya Prasad ji along with my next colleague Santosh ji to speak about it part. Then Santosh ji Phad, which he just explained about his real grassroots work, he will talk about the technology in education, and especially on the rural side, rural infrastructure side, not only on the technology but in the general infrastructure, and what is the thrust on the policy which has been given on that part. Then Joshi sir will speak about the Indian languages, how the promotion of that part, what is the three language formula and development of the languages, and he will give his inputs on that part. This is the first section of the national policy. Then we will go to the vocational education, and as well as onto the practical skills level working of the vocational part, and integrating vocational education in the schools, and entrepreneurship, how the skills are being inculcated in the current policy, and how it is been put into practice in the schools as well as at the high schools level. Then the second part, the third part of this policy, which is on the higher education side, where Dr. Mrs Joshi will share her experience as well as her views onto the restructuring of the current institutional structure, as well as how the more inclusive as well as responsive and innovative the curriculum will be in the future. And then we'll talk about the multi-subject approach and professional education on this part. So this is the bigger picture that we are going to talk about this part. And now I would like to start from my point, where I will just put on the policy point of view this structure. So my area is on the school education. First of all, just to give a brief on this part, for all this amazing policy, there has been efforts taken by the eminent panelist by the national policy document. And if you can see, this document is almost 560 page document. And if you see the people who are heading this committee, is Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, Vasudaji Kamath, Manjul Bhargava, then TV Kattimani, and so on. So like really well-known people who have from different walks of the life. They have been expertise in that area, from education, from technology, from science, from academia, from from industry, and as well as from the public life. So, with due respect to everyone, this discussion is mainly to give the constructive comments as well as how we can be able to improve this draft and how we can be able to make it practical level. So, uh, uh, and I guess that's the objective of the current government, where they are looking for the positive ideas, how this can be able to implement in place. So this is the first point of the my part, so which is like a disclaimer from all of us. So those who are in this panel right now, everyone, we respect the contribution of the previous committees, those who have been made, as well as this committee which has been creating this draft. uh, I guess one of the important aspect of this policy is on to the inclusion of the early childhood education and recognition of the same. Till now, the early childhood education was always been considered under the Department of the Women's Development or Women's and Child Development part, and which is a separate ministry, has always been there. It's the first time that happening that the policymakers have asked everything to come under the Ministry of Education. And one more part, the one of the policy change is happening here is that in future the plan is to change the name of the Ministry of HRD, Human Resource Development, to the Ministry of Education. So which is a more direct towards the educational part, and which starts from the early childhood till university education and adult education as well. It's great that adult education, vocation, this education has been all put together as a part of the entire policy. Second important part, that the all entire structure has been modified into the four areas. So which we'll talk about what are those areas. Out of which first, which is the foundation area, which is from the age of 3 till age of 8, means preschool area or pre-primary education, which is for 3 years, preschool education for 3 years, plus grade 1 and 2. Now these 5 years have combined together, and this age is called as a foundation stage. And the main focus of this particular foundation stage is on the helping the students to acclimatize with the different environment, and most importantly understanding the mother tongue and local languages and using the multilingualism as the thrust. So this is the welcome movement from my point of view, because the ability of a brain to understand as well as to decipher the different sentences, words as a whole as experience till the age of 8 is maximum. So the ability of brain to understand the languages and to get adapted for the new languages is also maximum. I guess as a policy part, this is a perfect working, and this is a good thrust. But to make this happen, there should be some couple of, I will give couple of hints by which I guess the government can be able to make this real practical. It has been mentioned the multilingual approach, but the multilingual approach should not go with the reading and writing. So till the age of 6, to be specific, the reading and writing should be discouraged. Instead of, it should be more mainly towards understanding, comprehension, listening, and speaking. These are the areas where it can be just restricted. Then only we can be able to get to this multilingual this approach. For example, in Finland, we follow this process quite rigorously. And here, one of the concepts that we do is a showering of language, where we don't expect the early childhood education years, don't expect the students to read or write any language or ABCD, nothing of that sort, but just get that experience and convert that experience into the words, convert that experience into the entire sentences. And that's the speaking ability, which is a communication ability that should be developed. So this is the important aspect of this part, and which should be done. Now for this, the next part which comes into the teachers' education and the teachers' training for this particular part, and which is really poor, which is currently within the Indian context, because currently Anganwadi or to the early childhood education, preschool education, within most of the part has been poorly administered, or it is poorly even documented. It is mainly towards the care part or numeracy and given the numbers and letters. I think this is a good time that I should be able to ask comment on this particular point from Vijaya Bhanu Kote on the early childhood education and the first grade 1 2, because she actively works with them. So do you have any comments on what I said in this part about the getting the languages early into the year, early years
Yeah,
of
yeah,
education?
yeah, Heramji. So actually, when we work at the grassroots level, we come to know about the capabilities of the children, how they can acquire things, their innate abilities, and all. So, according to your point and the NEP, what it proposes, it is now very much acceptable, and I invite this new system of thinking. It is very much good. Thank you.
Superb, superb. Any other panelist has some comment on the multilingualism as well as on to the different languages to be taught in the early years? Any other panelist would like to make some comment?
Uh, Hemanji, though it is not my targeted area, but I would still love to speak on the
Please,
language part
please, please,
because
please.
there are a lot many evidence which shows that knowing the multi-language which really develop your brain. And if at early stage our target is to develop the brain of the child, then I think teaching them the multi languages is really important during their early childhood days.
Very true, very true. So I guess the point here is that it's important, and also the second important aspect of this, what I think from the India perspective, because this policy we should not be able to just think from the global perspective, but mainly from the India perspective. And India's strength is having the multilingualism. That's the India's strength. A normal kid from India can easily speak minimum of 3 languages. And if you compare this with USA, Australia, or UK, where they have the only one language formula, and that's the biggest problem, where they can't move outside their own countries. If they would like to go to Europe, they are stuck on this part. And the ability of a brain to learn languages after age of 35 or 40, if you have not learned any other language in your life, is practically zero. So this is the one thing that we should be able to use this as a strong formula of having the critical thinking as well as the language adaptability. These are the two important aspects of, I think, which are there. Second thing, which is on the point, thanks for all the comments for this part. The second part, which is the given on this part, is that restructuring the entire model of the entire holistic development of the learner, and restructuring it in such a way that it will reduce the curriculum content and enhance the essential learnings and critical thinking skills. So this itself is a which is a next generation, or this current generation thinking, where the skills are more important as compared to the content. So we will come back to that point just in few minutes. Now, second point, which is the important point of this part, is on the curriculum. So I request Vijayaji to speak on the curriculum part of this section.
Thank you, Heranji. It was a great discussion on the early childhood education. And the areas I'm going to speak on is curriculum and pedagogy in schools, first of all. And here, when you go into, can you please go to page 73? You don't.
Yes, I
Yeah,
will.
yeah. So here, a new curriculum and pedagogical structure for school education is proposed, and holistic development of learners is the second issue. So when it comes to holistic development, we mean that rote memory will be ruled out, and for that I am really very happy because rote memory is killing the creativity of children. And before I start, talking about all these things, I would like to dedicate my whatever my points to the children, to the students, every student of every school in India. And it would be very nice if we ask a child what he or she wants, because all of these proposals are made by the observation and going into the grassroots levels, experimenting or whatever has happened. But if you ask a child what the child wants in his or her education, then we will get lot of inputs from the children, just like my children in my school or my kid at my home. So when it comes to holistic development, let's see what is holistic development. It means that all the overall development, it aims at the overall development, multifaceted development of the child. So when it comes to holistic development, we should change the curriculum that is proposed in this NEP 2019, and reduce curriculum content to enhance essential learning and critical thinking. And when there is critical thinking in education, it means that the future of India will be bright if it is implemented properly. And then I would suggest experimental learning by doing things in the curriculum that is going to be implemented, or the curriculum that is going to be changed. Because without experiment or learning by doing things in an activity based manner, children can't perceive anything properly. It will be abstract in their minds, and we will not find any much improvement in the education field. So and the fourth point comes to empower students through flexibility in course choices. This is I invite this proposal because few children may be much interested in one area, one child may be interested in another area. So if they have the choice to choose their courses in the higher education or secondary level of education, that would be very great. And the fifth point comes education in the local language, mother tongue, multilingualism, and the power of language. Here, they want to recruit language teachers so that children get acquainted with the languages they are going to learn properly. And for this, I suggest the language teachers who are to be recruited, they should be they should have a proper eligibility. Otherwise, what will happen is the introduction of new languages shall create confusion. And then, when it comes to Indian literature, being a writer, I'm very happy that this proposal consists of the policy consists of Indian, including Indian literature in the subjects. So for that, and when literature is included, it means that the reading capabilities of the children will be enhanced and socio-emotional learning will be enhanced. And when it comes to sixth point, curricular integration of essential subjects and skills, the subject and skill should always be mingled. And if such thing happens, we can create wonders. And taking up one art for deeper study and enhancing communication skills. This is really a good reform where communication should be inculcated. I mean, they should be taught how to communicate, because now we see there is a lot of lack of communicative people in our society. When companies or industries, they want to recruit people, they are very much offended that the candidates appearing for the interviews don't have communication skills. So the communication skills should be enhanced. And national curriculum framework, they are proposing NCF 2005. They want to update it by 2020, that is next year. National textbooks with local content and flavor. When it comes to local content and flavor, we see that the textbooks what we use nowadays are all uniform. And when it comes to tribal areas, when it comes to the communities, backward communities where the children are deprived, they don't find it very much connected towards their lifestyle. So they feel that the lessons are not for them, they are just studying. So when it comes to local content and flavor, it is very much good, and I invite the proposal. And when it comes to transforming assessment for student development, I would prefer individualized interest choices. That is very good. And one point where the policy is like national testing agency. They want to strengthen the
Mhm.
national testing agency, personalized assessment. And this year, I am going to work on this actually, self-assessment tools and the lessons where personalized assessment. For example, let me tell an example of my student. A student named Bhavani. She is a class 1, grade 1 student, but she doesn't know how to write. She tells everything orally. She is very much intellectual. She is good at creative activities also. But she is lacking how to write. It's here, and when we think about assessment and we give a question paper that she should write, we'll grade her C when it comes to assessment. So when this type of personalized assessment comes into existence, then it will be very great for every child. We can strengthen the capabilities and innate abilities of the children according to personalized assessment. And when it comes to computerized testing, it's like we can use tablets or computers at the early 3, 4, 5 classes. And then when it comes to higher education, the computerized testing would give accountability and integrity. That is good, but when implementation process comes into existence, the thing that lacks in our schools is that the funding and uh, the working of the computerized equipment and all. So for that, maintenance is always necessary, and there should be personnel who can look after this computerized equipment. And restructuring of board exams, this is highly relief giving thing that is proposed in this policy. And when it comes to support of students with singular interests and talents, I have a student named Kundeti Durga Prasad. He is dyslexic. There are many students who are dyslexic. They don't know how to read and write, but they have other skills. This student is very much interested in drawing, and he can draw very well. So when it comes to such type of students like dyslexic students or ADHD students, so there we can support the students with who have singular interests and talents by giving them separate assessment tools.
Yeah,
And when it
sure,
comes to
sure.
yeah. So and the
Yeah, sure.
next
I
one,
guess, you have given a quite a detailed
yeah.
overview, as well as
Mhm.
your expectations, as well as the
Yeah.
educators' expectations from student points of view, which is really
And
great.
one more thing,
Uh,
just one
please
second.
go ahead. Please go ahead.
I would,
Please go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I would like to, before I forget to tell, I would like to suggest in this policy that we are talking about the suicides, the stress level, the strain of the students as well as the teachers. I would not like to exclude teachers because the pressure is equal on the teachers' part also. So when it comes to this aspect, I would suggest the national education policy that a counseling wing should be established in every school, in every college, at higher education levels also, where the students can approach the teacher who belongs to the counseling wing and tell their problems, because no one listens to the students. We have seen a lot of
Very true.
suicides these days. Yeah. So have been proposing this from long time, and I have written a story recently also after the result of class 10 and intermediate results. So here the education wing should comprise of a psychologist. And when you are investing on the future of the nation, the policy makers should not refrain from funding, giving salaries to a separate wing of council, where the counseling wing should comprise of a psychologist or
Superb.
someone
Yeah, you are right.
who has a diploma in psychology. And you can do what is like you can train the teachers who are interested in
Exactly.
psychology. Yeah, you
Exactly.
can
So
train
I
the
guess
teachers.
this should be
Hmm.
a combined effort,
Yeah, yeah.
because I guess this is the one of the requirement, not only from the recruiting the psychologists at the school level,
Hmm.
but also
Hmm.
this should be used as a one of the important content for the teacher education. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
when our students will become the diploma or the bachelors or masters in education, they should have a
Hmm.
complete course and content and a practical internship on how to handle the stress levels, how to handle the
Yeah.
adolescence problems, how to handle the special needs educations. These are the
Hmm.
different areas which should be available at the teacher education. Currently, it is available, but it is available only at the theoretical level. It is not available at
Hmm.
the practical internship level.
Practical.
That's what our observation is there. So this is a very good comment and constructive comments on this part. I can
Hmm.
see that on our YouTube channel, as well as on the Facebook, I can see the experts in the field of early childhood education, like Nilakshi from Indore, Sanjay ji from Hyderabad, Tech Guru from different from one of the central part of India.
Hmm.
Ankita is also there. So welcome. Thanks for your comments. And there has been one comment by Nilakshi, which is that
Hmm.
important pointers are included in the draft, and it will pay the way for big changes at the early childhood education level. So it's, yes, you are right. And Sanjay mentions that when you say the experiential education, it should be related to their everyday activities and used in their daily life. I guess one of the area on which we are highly stressing is that no writing and reading, but it's not only the writing and reading, but having the less stress and giving the practical phenomenal experiences which are in your context, in the student context. That's one of the areas. So I guess all these points are really important. Thanks, Vijayaji, on this part. One
Thank
of the
you.
thing, I guess, for the audience, yes, thanks, welcome. One of the point which is required for the all the audience to be understood on here is that the current structure, which is 10 plus 2, it will be broken up into the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. I guess it is really important to understand this structure for all of us. And I request my panelists here to comment on this part as well in due course of time. Just to give the part, first 5 years, which is the preschool 3 years plus grade 1 and 2, will be called as a foundational stage.
Hmm.
Next 3 years means grade 3, 4, and 5, which will be called as a preparatory or latter primary stage. Then after that, grade 6, 7, 8 will be the middle stage. And then the grade 9, 10, 11, 12 is the high school stage. Now, the changing this into this part has some advantages and some precautions to be taken as well. One of the precautions here is that, and which is the major precaution to be taken here, is that in most of the structures, in most of the education systems till now, including in India, whenever we say the education reforms, it doesn't happen the education reform, it happens only examination reform. So we are quite habitual to do the examination changes, and by changing the examination we ourselves get confident, oh, everything has changed. That's the approach of the current education models across the globe, including India.
Yeah.
But if you see the if we can see the successful education models where the education has been highly appreciated, the quality has been highly appreciated, where they don't start with the assessment but they starts with the learning. So how the learning can be improved, what is the basic idea for that, and then the assessment comes in very later stage. It is as good as that you can test the vehicle efficiency by checking some speedometer and all these things, but for that you need to build your engine strong first. So this is building the engine strong, means building the strong learning and building the strong teacher education. That's the foundation part of this entire part. So one of the precaution in this part, and which is has to be taken here in this case, that the possibility that at the grade 3, at grade 5, grade 8 and grade 12, there will be national level examinations will be there. Luckily, at least there has been clarification which is mentioned that at least at the first stage, at the end of the foundational stage, there will be not a national level examination, but there will be national level survey. So survey is that not all the students needs to go through that examination, but it will be sample surveying, so that to get the health of the education model, how it is implemented. So that is welcome part. But still at the age of grade 5, having national examination, or at age 8 having national examination is a deterrent to the core learning, and it will create a backward pressure onto the parents and as well as onto the students, where we will have the examinations which are standardized nationalized examinations at a very early stage. So this is one of the point which I have to just mention. Any other panelists have comments on this area? Yes, please unmute your microphone. Please, yes, please, Surya Prasad ji, please unmute your microphone and then start.
Yeah, Heramb, this is Surya Prasad.
Yeah, sorry, Surya Prasad ji, yes.
Yeah, Bhanuji mentioned about that counseling wing, right? So this is pretty much the need of the hour, because when we see, when we visit the school, we see a lot of children facing issues like child abuse. They don't know whom to contact to. Child abuse, not not only for the girls, even the boys, the male students also getting abused. And it happens by peers, and it happens by the school faculty. So like as she rightly mentioned, they don't have anybody to go to, so there has to be the counseling wing, and it should be accompanied by a local psychologist, or probably a local NGOs might be able to help in this case. The government with the least effort can involve the local social workers. A lot of people can be available on a volunteer basis. But the full-time, the regular teachers, probably they are busy with all the syllabus and everything. So I don't think they can be made additional responsible. So a dedicated wing, at least a couple of people should be part of this counseling wing, and they can even talk about the career counseling, which is absolutely, there's no space in that right now, where students don't know what to do after they pass out 10th class. So you can mix everything, like the child abuse, career counseling, even the girls, they need a lot of education on adolescence education. And so there are a lot of issues the children are facing, and everybody is busy in their own agenda, and children, they don't know, they don't have any unions as such, so nobody wants to talk about it, and they don't have a voting rights, so politicians don't talk about it, so they're like left behind, so someone has to take care of them. So the counseling wing will be helpful for the children. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Surya Prasad ji. Any other comment by any other panelist on the structure of the restructuring of the this 10 plus 2 to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4? Any comment on this part?
Yes,
Yes.
Heramji. Okay,
Yes.
I would like to comment on this part as well. See, what happens normally when we work with the schools, especially in the government schools, the earlier criteria was the, as per the last policy, from first standard to eighth standard, there were hardly any examination has been conducted. So most of the time what happens that from the children when they enroll in the first grade, so they go from the first grade to second, third, fourth, and eighth. And when they go to the eighth standard, then only we realize that they are lacking in the literacy and the numeracy. And then only we, and there are then different issues because of the lacking of the literacy and the numeracy, then the dropout ratio is going high and other problems are creating. But now the government has break it down from the first 5 and then 3 and 3 and 4. I think it will be really good for the children as well and for the teacher as well to make sure that at what stage student required a special help from the teacher as well as the parents or from the any other community member, so we can intervene in between and make sure that at the right stage they will get a good literacy and the numeracy.
I really appreciate this point. The only challenge what I see here in this approach, where whatever you have mentioned, it's a problem not only with the structure. The problem is more with the teacher education here in this case. What I see that means that we need some external agency, which is like a government or the national board, to intervene and to tell the teacher who is in the same classroom to tell your students are not good or good. Why not a teacher should be able to understand that the students are not good, or they are not been able to get to the point. So it's the ability of a teacher should be increased, so that, or the in fact the it's a and I guess most of the teachers in India, they know what is happening in the school level. The only thing that's a professional approach that should be created, where they know that yes, it's my responsibility to make sure that the students are achieving their learning outcomes, and if they are not achieving, it's my responsibility. It's not the students responsibility, it's not the parents responsibility, it's my responsibility. Now you can tell about a lot of problems, that okay, we have a lot of students in the classroom, how we can be able to track all 60 students at the same time. But I will tell you that the Indian teachers are highly capable, they are highly multitasking, they can be able to understand the problems. For example, we have Vijaya ji here, who can be able to talk about the Heutagogy, who don't teach anything in the classroom, where the students learn on their own. This is a unique method. We don't expect that everyone should be able to do the same methods, but at least at some level we can be able to understand whether the students are able to perform. We don't need external agencies for that. By making a lot of examination which is at national level, we are, as if we are saying that the teachers are not capable to understand whether the students are learning or not. We don't want the teachers as a mechanical machine who can be able to just give the information, but who should have a live information, live understanding, live emotions. So that's my point, I guess, I'm talking about.
You are rightly said correct. But if this would have happened in India, and if everybody has taken the responsibility, including the teachers and parents, I think this situation would have not been appeared.
True, exactly.
But
So
and that's the reason we need the third party assessment or third party, intervention. And I think sometimes it is good.
it is
to have
helpful.
a
Yes,
third
you are
party.
right,
It is
yes,
helpful.
exactly. Yeah, so we have to find the solutions where we need also, so how we can be able to moderate the third party intervention as well, and how we can be able to make the teachers more professional, uh, and so on. So and in the end, we again say that the our teachers are not respected because they have lost their own jobs because of their own deeds. But anyway, I guess we can be able to move on to the next point, which is Anuradha ji, do you want to say something? Please unmute your microphone, please. Can you please unmute your microphone, and then this is a very interesting topic.
Is it okay, sir, now?
Yes, please go ahead. No, again, you need to unmute because you pressed it twice.
Okay.
Yes, now
Now
this
it's
is good.
okay. Okay.
Perfect. Please go ahead.
So I also, as a medical teacher, I want to put emphasis on this, that yes, the draft new education policy is very innovative. It is basically dealing with the crux of the problem from Anganwadi stage to that of higher learning, which was earlier neither connected or nor it was taken into consideration. But if we see what is the true function of an educator, what is education? Why are we being educated? Because we pass a few examinations, have a job, competing, struggling, brutalizing ambition. Is that education? Who is a teacher basically? Is he the one who prepares the student for a job, or merely for a job, or something else? So we actually need to think beyond. The role of the teacher, I think, is of paramount importance, and it's really pivotal for actually putting all these policy things, the words which are their statements, into action. We actually need to work very hard on the front of the teachers. So, carrying on to the discussion, I would also like to comment on the irony of educational boards in India. There are so many different boards in India. We need to know how much uniformity is there in the different boards or not. Multiple, as Vijaya madam told, that there is a multidisciplinary approach of study, emphasis on music, liberal arts. So in medical field also, we are trying to inculcate all those things so that there is not much of stress on the students. But apart from that, teachers need to be very much sensitive to the issues of the students. They need to be highly trained actually. And along with a counselor, as in Finland last time in November, I saw There is a counselor also in the classrooms. So in our medical schools also, we do have remedial cells. So the remedial cells are actually equivalent to those counseling sessions, wherein we try to cater to the individual learning needs of the slow learners. So we are also doing a lot of work in this direction, and yes, we are also doing researches. But my main concern is empowering teachers and teacher training. Teacher training has to be very much essential before we actually go on to the various parts like assessment, as you said. If the teacher training and how the teacher is giving the lessons, how the creative activities are being framed, designed, and actually done in the classrooms, if that is actually taken lot of care, then I think everything comes in place. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I guess you are right, and I guess you got the second point in place now for all of us, which is the important where Surya Prasad will speak about the teachers' qualifications and education and their motivations. So,
Yes.
Mr. Surya Prakash, Surya Prasad,
Yeah,
please go ahead with your points.
yeah. This is actually the chapter 5 of the draft with teachers. Teachers form the very heart of the system, so they are the vehicles through which we provide value education. So it is like, the most important section of the whole policy, because without a teacher, there's nothing that we can do, no matter what we do. Uh, when I look at the very first statement, it says the page number 113, 113. The
Just,
object to what it's 113.
ju- just a second. Yes, I'm just coming to that point itself.
Yeah,
Just give me a
113.
second. Yes, okay. Now we are
Chapter 5.
here. Yes, here we are here.
Go a little back.
Yeah, yeah, we are here now. Yes.
Yeah. So the very object of what it says is ensure that all students at all levels of school education are taught by passionate, motivated, highly qualified, professionally trained, and well-equipped teachers. The beauty of the statement is the order. The passion, motivation, qualification, training, and equipment. This statement itself talks about the mature and highly intellectual level of the committee itself, because passion always the very first thing to come, and equipment comes last. But unfortunately, in the current system of education, we go the other way around. Even the government is very much worried about getting all the equipment, infrastructure, buildings, all the digital classrooms, without even worrying about whether teacher is motivated or passionate at all. So this statement itself talks about the real need of the teacher. There are the policy also very clearly mentions that the respect whatever we lost about the teacher community has to be revived, because as we mentioned earlier, the teachers were so highly respected in the society, in our olden days. But right now it is not the case, so we have to somehow get it back. Teachers have to be one of the most respected community in society. Has to be. So that's the policy says very clearly. That's a very good point. Coming to the things I mentioned, there are top 10 goals they mentioned in this draft, and then they mentioned about the top 7 key issues. Out of the top 10 goals, some are pretty much very understanding and they're self-explanatory. There are two things that I want to mention. The number 6, it says the teachers must have the autonomy to innovate and teach in the style that the best suits them and their students. So this is the sixth one. Because the teacher is the only one who knows in and out of the community and the socio-economical status or cultural background of every student in the class. The teacher is the best judge. So the teacher must be given all the freedom to come up with the localized, customized, the lesson plans or the teaching methodology. Because one lesson plan cannot suit for every student in every school. So this statement is very much valid, and the teacher has to have that flexibility. And so that's a very valid point. And also the last one, it says the
Mr. Surya
career
Prasad, Mr. Surya Prasad, I guess you have hit the real crux of the story here. Um, I guess it is better that towards the end also we all can discuss about how this is possible, how this can be possible, how to give this autonomy, and what are the recommendations should be given to the government to make it as a policy decision, because there are a lot of problems which are happening at the autonomy level. But this is an amazing good point. Please continue. Sorry for disturbing you.
Sure, yeah. And then the 10th point, what it says is about the career management and the progression of teachers, including promotion, salary structure. This is a very important, very much requirement, because right now the promotion, I think, as far as I know, is purely happening on the basis of service, number of years, some lobbying, probably some luck. So this has to be completely professionalized. So this is one point that they said is one of the top 10 goals. So that's wonderful. And then they come back to the top 7 key issues that are holding the system back. And the very first one they talk about the very selection process of the teachers. And again, right now what we do is some teacher eligibility test or whatever all written, but there is no way we are testing the teachers, the passion or commitment or the the motivation, whatever. So there has to be a demonstration at the classroom level, or at least a face-to-face interview, because if I am a dumb person, like I cannot speak, right? I can still attend a test and I can qualify the teacher. What I'm going to do at the classroom, because I cannot speak. So there has to be very strict guidelines in respect to hiring the teachers in this one, and that's a wonderful point. That's one of the key issues. And the second one, we talk about the so-called thousands of institutions we have, the D.Ed, B.Ed colleges, and we all know how they're running. Literally, I can buy a degree, their price. So they are like completely commercialized, and there is no monitoring at all. And this need to immediately revive. This is one of the most important issues as well. And then the third one, they talk about the deployment of teachers. And the average, I think, when it comes to the whole of India, the average ratio of PTR, the pupil-teacher ratio, is coming to like 1:18 or 19. But in some cases it's like 60 to 1. In some cases it's like 5 to 1. They're so ununiform. So something has to be done to utilize this one. And one of the solutions that a lot of people, even the teachers, recommend is basically to merge the small and very small schools, merge the schools and then mix everything. And for the children who need to travel, probably provide a public transport by the government effort. But that way we'll make sure that the ratio is good enough, and every school, every class at least have one teacher for each subject. So that's not happening right now. Because one teacher is teaching like 1 to 5 classes, all subjects, Telugu, English, Maths. That's impossible. So this is something that is one of the major issues. And then the other point, I really like about this one is the role models from own community, because in the school education, the teacher is always role model, and the children pay a lot more attention when see a teacher from his own community. So this is not happening because of all these uneven transfer. People, that they are getting transferred, and the children are losing focus because they have to see a local role model. That makes a lot more sense. That is one of the points I mentioned. The draft is very valid one. And then the fourth point talks about infrastructure, and I think I want to give a very low priority to the infrastructure, because if the headmaster is good enough, then he can probably go around. He can mobilize a lot of resources. He can go to the alumni, teach alumni groups. He can go to the local community. So he can really do things. So I don't think it's a very high priority. And it also talks about lack of adequate learning resources. And even this one, I'm not too picky about it, because any motivated teacher can always find a way to improve himself. Because right now, the mobile, the internet is so cheap. You can go there and learn anything that you want in the world. So I don't think the lot of focus has to be provided to provide resources to teachers. The computer teachers can do it, and he or she should do this. And then it talks about the teachers cannot be given for any other duties academic. That's very true, and we don't have to talk about this one. Then the deployment basically talks about the scholar. This is one of the duty of this proposal. It says coming to the teacher selection, there has to be a merit-based scholarship. Right at the school level, identify the children who are who want to become teachers and offer some scholarship. Offer the scholarship so they can study and they can study the B.Ed or D.Ed, and then they can become teachers. And this is a good point because the passion or motivation, whatever they need, we can provide at the basic level. So that's very easy to build in that level. So once they're passionate, once they know, they want to teach, they have to teach, then we don't have this issue of lack of motivation, lack of passion in the teachers. So this is the scholarship program, I think, is going to work. And we, several NGOs, we already have it because we provide scholarships to the academically talented students, and we have a ready-made framework that the government can adopt it, and people like us are really willing to work together. And I think this is going to make wonders if implemented properly.
Yeah, sure. I guess you have clearly mentioned the requirements as well as the expectations, and which is a part of the policy, which is there. I guess this is a good point that we should be able to have this quick question to all of the panel members here, because we are getting very good comments on our YouTube channel as well as on the Facebook part, where people are really putting some specifically requirements on the teachers training courses like NTT B.Ed to be revamped, as well as giving the requirement for the teachers training to be passion oriented as well as interest oriented rather than content oriented. These points are quite interesting actually to be there. But the real fact of the story, which Mr. Surya Prasad mentioned, and which is the part of the point number 7, was how to give the autonomy to the teachers. So I guess yes, exactly. So I guess everybody has some comments to be made,
Yeah.
and because this is the policy statement that has to be made actually. Please go ahead.
Can I, can I, Heramji?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I will go to
So,
Santoshji and then Joshi sir and so on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving the opportunity. I would like to say passion is the main thing. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, very much. We
Yeah.
can hear
Okay,
you very
okay.
well.
So when it comes to giving autonomy to the teachers to innovate things, I'm the live example. Because when I adopted Heutagogy, I didn't know that someone will support me or not. I did all the experiment by myself and I never told anyone. But when someone from press came and they realized that this is a good method, all the commissionerate of education, the education department, SCRT, my mentor, and the one who proposed, the father of Heutagogy, Stewart Hayes, Nigel Ecclesfield, and Fred Garnett, all of these people were with me and they backed me up, they encouraged me, they gave me autonomy to do whatever I want to do. But the thing is that the success rate should be good and children should improve. And when it came to autonomy, I was not able to sit properly because I am the live example that the education department has supported me like anything. And you know it better because just because of my government of AP and the commissioner of education, I visited Finland in 2017 to present my paper on Heutagogy. Thank you.
Superb. Yes, you are right. I guess the Heutagogy principles, mainly where the self-motivated learning, self-directed learning. I guess this is one of the example where the teacher should have the autonomy so that she can pass on the power to the students, and they let them learn on their part. So let's Santoshji or someone else would like to have comment on this part on autonomy side.
Sure, Heramji. See, our
Yeah.
work, especially when we work with the government schools in Maharashtra, so the work starts with the teachers first, okay, and then it goes to the children. And there is a mixed reaction I would give because some section of the teachers are really passionate and they really want to bring some change. They want to upbring their knowledge as well, and for the children as well. They work with the entire community. They make sure that entire community is the part of the school, whether it's a government officials, whether it's the parents, or even the outside of the outside people. So, but I can say the two section of the teachers, even in the same school, I could see there are two sections. We can see that two sections everywhere in our house, even in the office, and the same thing is happening at the school level as well. So let's say one teacher who's willing to take the initiative and bring some change, the other teachers will oppose him or her, and this kind of the competition, the negative competition, is really stopping the development in the school. So we have to look at the how the entire team as a teachers in the same school can work towards the development of the school, whether it's a teaching methodology, whether it's a creating infrastructure, or any kind of development. So we need to build a good team. So I think team building between the teachers is lacking.
Yes.
Yes.
Very true. Very true. Dr. Anuradha.
Yes. Okay. Hello. Yes, sir.
No, I guess
And
Dr. Anuradha, you are putting the microphone mute for the two times, so it is again muting.
Hello.
Yes,
Okay,
this is
sir.
right.
Hello.
Is it okay?
Yes, you are
Okay.
right.
Hello.
Yes,
Am I audible? Okay.
very
So
much.
I
Yes,
agree with sir that yes, relationship is very important between the teachers and the seniors as well as the heads of the department, because everything has to be dealt with lot of respect and respect for the suggestions which the passionate teacher is giving. Many a times what happens, we have seen, I have even come across such situations of number one, hierarchy. Number two, not having respect for teacher's passion and the interest by which the teacher wants to teach in the class and involve the student. Number three, there should be regular meetings between the staff members and the other fellow members. Even there should be the feedbacks which are given by the students. All that should be discussed at a common platform to facilitate collaborative efforts. And as sir rightly said regarding the team building is, I really feel it is lacking in our country.
true.
Team
Super.
building is
I
very,
guess
very important.
you have mentioned the points which how to create a good teamwork within
Exactly.
culture of teamwork within the school.
And
So
there
I guess
should be
that's a part of the individual
yes,
school
and
level.
there should be mechanisms for conflict resolutions, if any.
True.
Because, see, if every educator is passionate about teaching, I suppose that there will be very less or very minimal conflicts, because everyone would be working for the welfare of the recipients or the students.
Yeah.
So, it's very important to have a very healthy atmosphere, and that actually helps in fostering this teacher autonomy. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Superb, superb. I guess Santosh was mentioning on the same line where the if there are two different sets of teachers, one who are motivated versus those who are demotivated or demotivating others. Actually, they are not motivating themselves, but how to create this conflict management as well as creating this part. That's the important part, and this should be the given as a constructive feedback back to the ministry. But also, this is mainly at the school level or the college level. For that, actually, I want the comment from Joshi sir. Sir, please continue.
Hello. Yes. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I can hear you
Yeah.
very well.
Well, first of all, I appreciate Surya Prakash sir, okay, for his throwing light on so many aspects, really. Okay, and just in the line with both of them, what Dr. Anuradha said, and he also said that. So I would like to share an experience of mine with all. Can I?
Please
Can
go
I?
ahead.
Yes.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
So actually, I teach to the students who study in the vernacular classes, and I'm an English teacher, and there I decided once to arrange some 20 to 25 days of program for the weak students, and then before the school opens, okay, before the school start, I arrange them just 1 hour before the school, and from each class I had just selected some students, and they were all near about 30. And for nearly for a month, I had given them the lessons. So going very basically from ABCD, because they were very weak. From ABCD, I gave them lessons, and then every day I thought over my implementing the program very nicely, and gave them a very good program. And those students, okay, were confident that they can at least read, okay, they can at least write, okay. This much an ability I had just built up in them. The irony is, okay, not even once the head of the institution or any authority turned up over there, okay, to say, "Oh, nice job, you're doing, Mr. Joshi." So, but I never mind it, because that's why I'm here, okay, to speak with Heramb sir, and such a dignitary is there. Okay, I never minded. My work has been going on the same way.
Yeah, you are right. I guess that's why I guess all of these people who are the people on this dais, they are doing amazing work at their own part. Some of them are getting appreciated maybe within their own organizations. Some of may not be there because they don't have, the others may not be appreciating what they are doing there. But definitely we as a Council for Creative Education, we would like to really appreciate the efforts by all the people in the education sector, those who are contributing to the betterment of the students' life. And so that's why actually we are connected. This is a good platform for all of us. And I guess we are not connected with any of the financial benefits, but we are connected with the mere goal of education to be better for India as well as for the rest of the world. So you are rightly said. I guess this is a very good, important experience for all of us. I guess on the autonomy point, I would like to. Yes, please go ahead. Okay, was there any comment?
One more thing from Surya Prakash sir's, okay, okay, his comments. Okay, about salary, it was there somewhere. There's a salary of the teachers. Am I right, sir, Surya Prakash sir? So one point was regarding the salary of the teachers over there. So this is an issue actually. And then okay, there in all over the country. Okay, there should be some strategy, okay, and a particular, you can say, the norms that should be followed, okay, as far as the teacher's salary is concerned. There, it may be the primary teacher or the junior college level teacher. I would say that it should be at par, okay, at par with the government-aided schools' salary. It so happens that there are.
Yeah, you are right. Actually, so mainly the private part. I guess you are talking about the private organizations and private schools.
Organizations and then the government-run schools.
Very true. Very true. So there is a disparity, and I guess this is the only field where the government sections are getting better paid than the private schools or private areas.
It's much better. Much better.
If you go to IT sector, the private industries is paying much higher than the government IT departments or something. So I guess this is the one thing that needs to be revamped, and this has to be done with the structure. But I guess on the contrary, I heard a different view altogether, mainly for the government teacher salaries. So they are, because of the salaries, there is a lethargy into the government sector. That's what also I heard. But I personally myself, I have taken a totally different experience. Let me give my experience as well, and mainly on this autonomy, salary, and all these things together, how this can be able to create a uniform working culture, so that once you create a culture of the development, then you can be able to solve all these problems. And for that, actually, I would like to just give this comment on this part. So Council for Creative Education, we work with the various governments at large scales, with the private schools as well as with the government schools. And when we work with the government schools mainly, we work with the government heads to strategize how we can be able to develop these cultures. What Anuradha ji or what Santosh ji just mentioned about the specific culture by which you can be able to develop the cultural development within so that our organization or the school should be learning organization. And for that, we work with the different strategy point. We conduct the workshop. and the overall part of these workshops, what we say, that the solving the problems is the one thing which needs to be developed as a part of the culture, and for which the active classrooms, that we took only one example of the active classrooms, and for that the Ministry of HRD has come up in 2017 the curriculum which is based on the learning outcomes. Unfortunately, the private school teachers or principals don't know about this part, which is a part of NCERT, but most of the states like government of Chhattisgarh, Goa, Maharashtra, they are highly working on these areas quite well now, government schools. So just to give this part, how we can be able to once develop one project, what we worked on the Chhattisgarh, where the 35% schools and population are tribals, and this tribal education, they are doing innovations within their own structures. So for example, this is one of the examples where the teachers are creating a vision. They are getting trained on the various different areas of development, and they are creating their own teacher training models. For example, if you see this particular part, you can see that the students over there, they are the teachers over there, they are using their new methods, their own methods, to develop the new creative teaching methods for the their students, and these are authentic to their culture. They have developed it. They have created 2,500 videos on YouTube. So if you search just Chhattisgarh teachers experiments, or you can go to CCE channel and you can see most of the videos in the playlist. You will see all these experiments which are there. So for example, just for learning the even number and odd numbers, they have created a game which is being played onto the ground. Or learning the languages, they have used the forest. For learning the fractions, they have used the simple chessboard. So all these games. So this is the YouTube channel which has been given, and if the teachers can make use of technology, they can be able to make use of the social networks. The appreciation will come from the outside, and they don't need to worry about the what is happening in the local politics. I guess this is one of the example. This is one of the good ideas for that. So with this part, I guess this is a great discussion from everyone. I guess this brings to the next point of our talk, which is about how the technology in education and the rural education should be part. And for that, I request Santosh to start his comment.
Okay. Thank you, Heramb ji. See, we all know though we are living in the India, there are two countries, and everybody should accept that. One is still there is a Bharat, and there is a India, which is the developing India. So whenever we talk about the booming economy, good policies and everything, so that means it is happening in India, but not in the Bharat. So the Bharat, which represents the rural India, and if you look at out of 20 lakh schools, probably 15 to 16 lakh schools are just in the rural India. So when the policy is designing, or who are the people who are on the authority to design the policy, they should first look at the rural India instead of the urban part, because urban schools, most of them are equipped with the good infrastructure and even the quality teachers. But if we look at the rural, that is the main problem which occurs in terms of whether it's a quality of the teachers, quality of the infrastructure, and the overall quality of the education. So according to me, the technology can play a very important role to make sure that the rural India will have a quality of education. And what current, as per this draft 2019, it is clearly mentioned, the highest priority must be to achieve the universal foundational literacy and the numeracy. So the entire policy is around the foundational literacy and the numeracy. Though they have mentioned the infrastructure part under the foundation literacy and the dropout, but there is no clear guidelines about the infrastructure. There is no chapter which is dedicated to the infrastructure, because infrastructure can play a good role to improve the learning outcomes, to improve the literacy, to improve the numeracy, especially the technology. If we look at if we introduce the technology from even the early child education to the secondary school education, I think it can really help to every student to be fundamentally good, and it will also help to reduce the dropout. In the policy itself, it is clearly accepted by the government that the lack of infrastructure is the reason behind the dropout at the standard 8, 9th and 10. If you look at the percentage, out of 100, the only 30 to 40% students who reach to the 11th and 12th standard. And clearly the reason, the few of the reasons are mentioned is safety, security, and the lack of the infrastructure. I think we should more focus on the creating good infrastructure, especially the technology. Along with that, we should also have the residential more schools, because lot many, especially the girl childs, they are not able to continue their study because of the long distance schools. If we look at the data, for 100 primary schools, there are only 50 secondary and only 30 higher secondary schools. So for the higher secondary student, whether it's a girl or a boy, if they want to go for their higher studies or higher secondary education, they have to travel minimum 10 to 15 kilometers. So it's a matter of their safety and security and the transportation availability in their village. So we need to create more and more infrastructure, whether it's hostels, whether it's residential schools, availability of the logistics, the technology, because if we look at how we can intervene the technology, especially for the dropout students, the dropout students can bring together in the same village those who are already dropped out, because it is clearly mentioned in the policy, the dropped out, their main focus to bring back the students who are already dropped out. So how we can bring back to them? I think the technology can play a good role to bring back those students who are already dropped out. Let's take an example. If with the help of the community member and the volunteers, if we can, through the technology, they bring back to the school, and through technology, they are taught through maybe the YouTube or the Skype video sessions, or even the multimedia content, which will be available in the school itself. So technology can play a good role to bring back those students as well. And plus those who are already studying from the 1st standard to 12th standard, I think to improve their overall learning outcome, their interest in education. So this can play a good role according to me. So we need to have a very specific policy that what kind of infrastructure we require. It is just mentioned that some technology intervention we require. It will not solve our purpose. So we should have a clear guidelines what kind of technology, and the technology should be the universal, because various states, not even various states, in single state, various schools are using their own technology. Whether that really creating the good impact or the bad impact, we are not sure. So there should be a proper guideline on what technology and what kind of infrastructure should have in the school.
Yeah, true. Actually, I guess this brings to the important point, because if you see the initial last 30 years, whatever the drafts which came for the policy or the new curriculums or the developments within the schools, if you see that out of 100 pages, 70 pages were related to the infrastructure, sanitation, good buildings, accessible roads. These were the points which were there. But I guess what you meant to the last point was really important, that we should not be able to just work on the infrastructure as a big word, but what exactly within the infrastructure, what it makes to make the learning. And that's why I guess the point of Surya Prasad was also there, that the infrastructure can be created by a good passionate teacher in future, but you can't have just by giving the infrastructure you can't solve all the problems. So this should be combination of both the approaches. And I guess we should use this platform, that what is the practical approach by which we could be able to give the learning importance rather than just putting the infrastructure. For example, we have many schools where there are thousands of PCs are lying down but never been used. There are many schools where the projectors are there, many so-called smart boards are there. Even the private schools, for example, I visit India 3 times a year, and even in the good quality, well reputed private schools, when they say that it's a smart board, everything is there. When I ask them to start one smart board, they said, no, the maintenance is going on and it is not working. So this is a common thing that we can be able to hear. So the use of technology should for the betterment of the students, and not just from the point of view that they can be able to just use it to show off the technology. So this is rightly said.
I would just mention one point here, because see, everything cannot be done from the government point of or from the government side. We, society, all come forward, whether it's a social organization, volunteers, even the corporates, and I think through CSR, government is really utilizing the CSR funds very well to creating the infrastructure. But still, there is a lacking behind. As I clearly said, there are no certain guidelines in terms of what infrastructure it should have. So there is a possibility of having a public-private partnership, especially for the government and the rural schools, to create the good and quality infrastructure to make sure that even the early childhood children, and even students studying in the 11th, 12th standard or higher secondary education, they will have access to the quality infrastructure, and this can be done through really public-private or the
PPP
social organization.
Model. Yeah, I guess that is also one important point within the draft, is that this PPP model has to be there, because this has to be at policy level. What is happening, because when the government school starts, they look private schools as their competitors, or otherwise they look private players as the interfering within the academia. So this kind of a bridge which is there, this should be bridged by the government with the help of policy, and I guess the CSR funding is a very good bridge for that. Very much appreciated.
One just last point, I was just reading one report where it is clearly mentioned the 85% of our budget, total education budget, which government is spending on the salary and admin costs. So in balance, whatever is remaining, 10 to 15%, it is impossible to create the quality infrastructure. And without the quality infrastructure and your foundational literacy and the numeracy or the pedagogy, whatever you are going to create as a content, that should go the parallel. One should not be the higher side and one should not be the lower side. It should have the parallel balance.
True. I guess one of the analysis which I did on this after this policy came up, that the current spending on the education by the government is of the range of 3.7% of the GDP, but the average international percentage is of the range of 4.7. So we are spending 1% less. Now I will tell you that to make all this policy into the practical level, the government has a target of 6%. So whatever the current spending is, that they want to spend almost 80% more. That means they have to increase more than 3% of the GDP, which is quite a huge amount, which has to be spent. Even though we did that, still we cannot be able to achieve not even 50% of the targets which are in this policy. To achieve everything, every year we should be able to allocate 8 to 9% of the GDP, which is quite a huge number. And then we have to take out many other benefits, like benefits to the poor and all these fancy schemes that we have to take out. This is not possible. But at least if we can be able to use this PPP model, where you can be able to have the private players with the help of CSR and creating a good quality role models within the schools as well as outside, this is possible. So I guess this has been the real crux of the story. I guess now this is a good time that because we have quite a great content to be covered, but this was a really good interactive session for all of us. One point which has put into the media, and that's what we didn't touch that point, and we don't want to touch that point directly, about the languages. And on the languages side, there has been much debate on whether there should be three language formula or two language formula, or Hindi should be pressurized or not. All these things are there, and it is a politically motivated debate. But as an academician or from the academic background, all of us should be able to comment at least on the language development, not on the which language should be there, but also on the language point. We will take this point, and I request Joshi sir to continue on this part, on the language part, and put his comments, and then we'll take it forward.
Yeah. Actually, the area for the discussion given to me, okay, is language only. And of course, language relates to everybody, okay, at every stage, right from the KG1 to the post-graduation. Okay, language is there. And of course, language is the two-edged sword. Just to lower the burden of you can say the serious talk, okay, I would say that if used wisely, okay, you can make the constructive work, okay, but if not used properly, the language, it can create some devastation also. Okay, language, okay, the part and parcel of human life. Yes, and of course, when the child, you can say, confronts with the first activity in the school, what he faces or what he undergoes is the language only. What he enjoys is the nursery rhyme only, and there his journey of education begins. And what our chairman of the education policy, Mr. K. Kasturi Ranjan, said, okay, the vision of India's new education system has been crafted to ensure that it touches the life of each and every citizen, okay, aligned with the aspirational goals. So when we talk about this touching to the life of everybody, so language becomes inevitable there. Okay. And of course, this is a debatable topic, no doubt. But still, should language, should education, okay, be given in the regional language or the mother tongue? Okay, is always debated there, and we can see the whole society is split into two parts. Okay, on this, okay, they may support the view, okay, that okay, the primary education should be given, okay, in the mother tongue, as they themselves, okay, have taken it. But when it regards to their own children, they send it to the English medium schools. Okay, this is the thing. This is the problem. Okay, there. Actually, the great psychologists also are of the opinion, as somebody had said, that education at the primary level must be given in the mother tongue, because the mother tongue only can appeal to your five senses. The understanding or the grasping of the things in any subject is better when you learn it in your mother tongue. See the examples of the great people, okay, like Radhakrishnan, okay, or Dr. Ambedkar or Mahatma Gandhi. They had their education in their mother tongue only, but later they ruled the world, okay, by their philosophies. So this is actually there we are just following the trends. So this is a thing to be, and this is also recommended that the primary education should be given in the primary, should be given in the regional language, in the mother tongue, okay, in our education policy also. So that is the thing, okay, to be appreciated.
Yeah, I guess,
So on this,
my comment, my comment or my question to you here specifically is that what do you suggest as a all this problem which you mentioned, that the English language has been given a priority and it has been considered as a knowledge language, and where the local languages are not considered as a knowledge language. So do you have any specific recommendation or ideas how we can be able to develop this as a like, actually, because the policy mentions about how they have the plans to uplift the Indian languages.
Yeah, sir. In my opinion, actually, if
Mhm.
one is good at his mother tongue, okay, at a
Yeah,
primary stage,
yeah.
then he can be good at any foreign language at a later stage. It's not a problem, okay, of grasping the foreign language over there. It's not an issue. But what is lost is the we can say the feelings, emotions, okay, of the children there, that development of the children, okay, from emotional point of view, that is lost. Okay, and then of course their language relates to not only to the subject studies, but it relates to our culture. It relates to the social behavior of the children. It relates to the family life. It relates to his being a citizen of the country. So language relates to everybody. So if he learns the basic things in his own language, then he has more affinity, okay, to his fellow beings. He gets more familiar or familiar with the various social programs, okay, there about the society, okay, and the feeling of you can say the helpfulness, okay, kindness, those feelings also, okay, they are developed. Values, one more point I would like to discuss there. Okay, values, if you want to inculcate those good values among the children there, so it is the education in your mother tongue that touches to the heart of the child. When you learn something, of course there you learn something from about your culture, about your social background in your language, there it touches to the heart. In English language also, the information about your culture, your society can be imparted to the children, but that doesn't appeal to the child as much as the language, his mother tongue, appeals to him. So are the things over there. So if we want the child to be developed, okay, all rounded, then these things are to be taken into consideration very seriously. The one example of Finland that I would like to give here, okay, that there we had the just a minute, my battery is running out. Okay, so I'm calling my daughter. Aditi, Aditi,
Uh,
Aditi.
yeah, I guess by the time you set
So,
up everything, you can
so
you
one
can
more
be
thing
able to.
about the Finland, I would say that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
education up to the postgraduate level, okay, is given into the Finnish language because that
True,
kind of infrastructure, okay, everything is available there.
true. I guess this is the one of the example that how the local languages are important and how the mother tongue is importance for the learning, important for learning. These are the critical issues for the learning. uh, now actually, because we had scheduled this call only for 1.5 hours. It is important to respect that time as well, and we have taken a lot of ideas, and all of the panelists has given very good comments. And mainly onto the YouTube channel, I can see still good number of people are giving comments and replies, and this is one of the most active call I have ever seen on the CC channel. This is really great that we can. So people in India as well as across India, they are really concerned about the educational part of that part, and this policy will make this a long-term impact on this part. So I request all the panelists and with the help of everyone that for the higher education part and as well as onto the vocational education, these two parts are still remaining. Can we have one more session separate so that we can concentrate only on the higher education and as well as the entrepreneurship education and vocational education, because already the time has passed and many of the participants needs to go somewhere. So if everyone agrees to this part, all the panelists, then we can be able to get that session separately. Is that okay for everyone?
Yes, yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Superb, superb. So with this part, I would like to thank all the panelists on this part. The great part of this session was that we had the panelists from 5 different states, from Gujarat, from Maharashtra, from Karnataka, from Andhra Pradesh, from Telangana. and it has been a quite a great interactions. And the objective of this sessions is not just to talk, but also to write white paper which can be submitted by the 20th of June to the Ministry of HRD, because by end of June all the ideas will be there to the part, but we are personally submitting this part. I will be traveling to India in next week, and as well as we will have a meeting at the Minister of HRD in the end of the around 20th of June. We have scheduled a meeting for that, which will be taken care. So thanks a lot for all these comments. I really appreciate, and we will take it forward. The announcement for the next session, maybe within 2 days itself, we can be able to do it. We'll confirm after the availability of all the speakers, and we will come back to this part. So with this part, I would like to thank everyone. I guess everybody can say thank you to all our participants who are seeing live right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It has been great.
Thanks, Heramb.